You're listening to the 5-Minute Friday podcast episode of The Aligned Self. This is your host, Daniel J-N-O-V. Okay, 5-Minute Friday, a short and concise podcast episode of The Aligned Self designed to leave you with a question, an idea, a strategy, a tip, a hack, in order to give you greater access to your conscious awareness, evolving your conscious awareness, or give you greater mastery over your mind. Before we dive deep in this 5-Minute Friday, I want to take a moment and just thank you. Thank you for your listening. And I realize and I understand that you could be anywhere else in the world, doing anything else in the world. And right now, you're choosing to put me in your ear. And I want to make this worthwhile for you, and I appreciate you showing up and doing your part of it. So this episode is being released on January 14th, Friday, January 14th, 2022. We're just 2 weeks in, and I have not done my customary completion episode. I usually do it with clients where I check in with them and ask, what do you need to complete with the previous year? Looking back on 2021, what can you be done with? What do you want to leave in the last year? What have you dragged across that timeline into 2022 that really isn't serving you? Is there a particular way of being? Is there an attitude that you've been hanging on to? Just think about it. What would you like to be complete with? What would you like to let go of? Now, depending on when you're listening to this, if you're listening to this down the road and not necessarily in chronological fashion or in real time, and let's say it's in June or August by the time you get around to this episode, it doesn't really matter because you can declare a new beginning, you can declare an ending at any point in time. You see, January 1st, the beginning of the year, the end of the old year, is just an arbitrary celebration. We celebrate the new year. We celebrate a new beginning and the completion of the old. In actuality, it's just another date on the calendar. So this is where life is created. Our experience is created based on what we say it is. For instance, on January 17th, there's a full moon. And the full moon is the end of a cycle, the lunar cycle for that particular month. So you can declare an ending. You can declare a completion. You can do this every month. My wife and I, sometimes we do this on a regular basis. What do we want to be done with? What are we ushering in? But if you're using the moon, make sure that you are completing on something, letting go of stuff at the full moon, and then 13, 14 days later, you're ushering in something new on the new moon, which this month, January 2022, is going to be on the 31st. That is the new moon. And this is one way where you can play with the lunar cycles, the natural cycles, and be in alignment with that. But enough about the moon for now. Back to the whole idea of completion. You see, in the human psyche, we want to be done with things. We like to have a bookend on subjects, on projects, where we know when the ending is. And we also take great delight in new beginnings. And again, you can declare these anytime. I consistently pick a date on the calendar and I'll count out, 50 days, 60 days, 100 days out. And that's a sprint for me. And I do a project and I take it on and then I celebrate the successful completion at the end of it. And that's one reason why we celebrate the new year is because we mark it out. We make it relevant. Again, we created. It's all created. So the energy we put into it makes all the difference. But again, back to completion. You see, this is one reason why PTSD exists, because you typically have an experience, there's a traumatic experience that comes up in people's lives, and it can be just about anything that creates this PTSD experience. It's because we haven't processed or completed on the emotion. We haven't processed it or thought it through. We haven't come to terms with it. We haven't come to resolution with it. something might have happened and it doesn't fit our self-concept. How could this happen to me? There's all these questions that exist there, and there's no answer. And so this experience is rumbling around in the background of our mind, in the subconscious aspects of our being, because it has not yet reached resolution. Now, this is definitely a topic that is worthy of a much deeper dive in a future podcast episode. But just understand right now that these things exist because we've not reached a point of completion. We can't come to a point and say, I'm done with it. I'm over it. It's over. So for the context of this particular episode, I want you to take a look at the last year. Ruminate over the last year. Was there a theme going on in 2021? Is there a theme that you would now like to call complete and ushering in a new way of being? Was there a habit? Was there an attitude? Was there a process that you continually went through over and over and over again in 2021 that, again, you are now calling complete? Did you end a relationship or end a tenure with a job last year that you're now calling complete and opening up? And this is about opening up to receive by completing. We put the past in the past and we open up, we create a clearing for something new. And this does touch on a past episode that I did on letting go, which a lot of people have issues with or trouble with. There's things they say, I just can't let go of that. And who decides on when you let go? Well, you do. So if you've been hanging on to a relationship that's over, a situation that is now over and has been over, but you've been hanging on, you've been attached to it, you've been connected to it, you want to now sever that tie. You want to be done with it. You want to put the past in the past so you can make room for the new. And you do that by saying, I am now complete with that chapter, that phase, that aspect of my life. And I'm now making room for the next possibility. And many times we have no idea what that is. And you can call in a new way of being. I'm letting go of the pain from last year and calling in more joy, more abundance in my experience. Now, this does work really well with things that we know in our mind are complete. We know why they ended. We know why it's no longer in our life. We know why it's done. Now, there are some things that ended and we don't know why they ended. We haven't reached resolution with somebody else. Well, you can still be complete with that by declaring yourself as being complete with being incomplete. You see, sometimes people's behavior is so far outside of the realm of our concept of what should have happened from our point of view. They just made a decision and they cut things off and we don't know why. And so rather than ruminate over not knowing why, we just declare ourselves complete with being incomplete. We say to ourselves, I'll never know the answer. I'll just never know. And it's one of those great mysteries because I'll never get a chance to talk to them. They may have passed away. They may have moved somewhere else. They may have cut off communication. But I think the important thing to do is in the not knowing, in declaring something complete with being incomplete, is recalling your energy. You actually recall your energy back to you. You're no longer investing it into the past. Because whenever you have a connection to something in your past and you can recall it and it activates something in you emotionally, you're sending it energy. You're sending it aspects of your life force. And my friend, you deserve all the energy that you can muster. So recall that to you and reclaim it for yourself, just for yourself, to invest in your life, in your dreams, in your outcomes. Now, I can already tell that I'm going to be incomplete with this podcast episode because I have a lot more to say on this, and I probably should have never done it for a 5-minute. So I'm going to go on a deeper dive down the road relatively soon on this whole idea of completion, recalling your energy, creating a clearing. There's a lot of different things we can do and a lot of different scenarios that are going on, but I just want to plant this seed in your head of completing on things that are now over. Whether it's last year, whether it's a job, whatever it is, You know when something's done, when you have residual energy, you have ties to the past, and you're just kind of dragging it along behind you. You can set down that baggage and never pick it up again by declaring yourself complete. Okay, that's it for this 5-Minute Friday. This is Daniel Dano-V, urging you to follow your bliss. Live your life from inner signals, and by all means, live the epic adventure.